Hi everyone, welcome back to Grind and Shine. Today we're very happy to have the owner of Bearded Bella. They started off as a coffee shop in the CBD area near Outram Park, and now they have another branch near the Tanjung Pagar station as well, called Good Egg by Bearded Bella. She is Regina Tay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so maybe Regina, you can give us a brief introduction about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Regina. I've been making coffee for the past 20 years. I am a barista, I'm a coffee roaster, and a business owner. I am absolutely obsessed with flavors. So I see it as a way for me to express and to connect with people.
Yeah.
So this is why we set up Bearded Bella and Good Egg.
Yeah. Nice. And can you share your coffee journey with us from the very beginning, your first cup of coffee until now?
Yeah. It's gonna be a very long one. Yes. There's 20 years worth of history, but I started in a cafe chain.
Yeah.
I was just working as a server, earning like minimum wage of $4.50 per hour. I was super drawn to the F&B industry because I was just really fascinated by the operations, and I'm just a glutton essentially. So very quickly as a server, I got promoted to be on bar, so I started making coffee, and that kind of kick-started my whole passion for making coffee.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I traveled to Melbourne for my university course, and during my summer holidays, I got the opportunity to work in Papa Paletta, which is one of the pioneers for specialty coffee in Singapore.
Yeah.
So that is my first encounter with specialty coffee in Singapore, and it was a really inspiring one. And after going back to Melbourne, I landed myself a job in Excel Coffee Roasters that is in Hawthorne, Melbourne. Occasionally, they will have quality control cuppings where they'll ask the baristas to join them, and so that they can share a lot more about the coffee. So that's how I learned.
Yes.
Further to that, I also started working in auction rooms that is in North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Specialty coffee is just getting more and more precise in the way we make coffee. So I was there to witness the evolution in that sense of how these cafes, even though they're making like really amazing coffees already at that time, how they are moving towards weighing their doses, weighing their yield when making coffee. And eventually I ended up working with Common Grounds that's in Jakarta, Indonesia. I was really lucky and super honored to be working with them. It is really humbling to be amongst the founders of Common Grounds. They're really inspiring, and not just in the way they run their business, but it's also how clear and steadfast they are in pursuing their goals, while at the same time looking after the staff members in the company, and also the community that they have built outside of the company. So the entire coffee community in Jakarta is something that has always inspired me in a sense, because it's something that I don't see it as much in Singapore. The cohesion and the support that they have for each other. So that's Jakarta. I spent 2 years there, after which I came back to Singapore. My partners and I started Bearded Bella, and I think 7 years down the road, here I am. We just started Good Egg, that is located in SBF Centre along Cecil Street. I guess the main goal for Bearded Bella and Good Egg is to make coffee accessible, or rather specialty coffee accessible to the public. And that has always been my dream, to provide really good flavored coffees and affordable coffees to the public.
Thank you so much. That's a very comprehensive view of your journey in the last 20 years. You had worked in a green importer for 2 years, and there must be a big difference coming from owner background, barista background, to knowing how it works, working with the producers from the producing country. So can you let us know, what does a green importer do, and what is the role of a green importer?
Yeah. So a green coffee importer acts like a middleman. I'm definitely still a greenhorn in this field, so I can share what we do.
Yes.
What we do, the summary of it would be that we purchase green coffee from various origins.
Yes.
And we bring them into Singapore for our roaster clients. Yes. The detail of this purchasing and this whole process is quite tedious, because it requires us to get samples from our producers and exporters, and from there we evaluate based on green coffee grading, cup profile, and also client's demand.
Yes.
And we'll select coffees according to that and bring them into Singapore. Yes.
Got it. And what are the regions of these origins from?
Back in that company, we did quite a few. So for South America, like Brazil and Colombia, as well as Peru. For Central America, we have coffees from Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Costa Rica, as well as Panama. For Africa, we have Ethiopia, Kenyan, and Rwandan coffees.
Got it.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, or from what our listeners usually know, is that some coffee roasters in Singapore will do a direct trade with the producers, whilst some of the roasters will work with a green importer, like the one you used to work for, to buy beans from. So what is the difference between both?
Right. So by buying directly from producers and exporters, roasters will, there are certain risks and benefits, I guess, involved. Benefits would be like, we often talk about marketing value of being able to buy direct, being able to build a relationship with the producers themselves and exporters. That is crucial for specialty coffee roasters. There are also certain risks involved, such as accidents that may happen at the origin that roasters are not familiar with. So being an importer, you do have established certain relationships with the producer or the exporter, and with that relationship comes along the quality assurance, the trust that your coffee will be shipped on time, and should there be any issues with the end product that you received in Singapore, there will be a line of communication at least. Yes. So it's very much the same as, maybe like a few years ago, where everyone was so skeptical about buying online, because there's always like a gap of communication. So by buying direct, definitely there might be some cost savings, and you will be required to obviously buy a bigger bulk. The risk will be that you may not be able to finish the coffee in time, and therefore leading to aging coffees, which is not good for quality.
So would you say that building a very trusted and loyal relationship with the producer as a coffee roaster, if they choose to do the direct trade, is very important, because at least the communication is there, and would you say it's important?
For sure. I mean, if that is the goal for the coffee roaster, it is crucial to build a a trusting relationship
Yeah.
in order for you to source direct. At the same time, the role of an importer is also to provide expertise in this
Yeah.
context.
Yes. So I could imagine if I'm a small business owner, it will be easier and also safer for me to work with a green importer, because at least the liability also comes with the importer that I'm working with.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Does your role in the importer company in the last 2 years involve some visits to these farms and origins to check on production and operations of the coffee?
Yeah. So I think most of the time, no, we do not visit our our suppliers, because they're on the other side of the world. It's quite a far journey, and given that it is so easy to communicate through, WhatsApp and email, and like even Zoom calls, we are able to communicate without seeing each other in person. But I was very lucky to have the opportunity to visit Colombia just early this year in January. Yeah, so it was a client's visit, meaning we'll bring our roaster clients to the origin to visit farms and producers that they purchase coffee from. We did have a trusted exporter that we work with in Colombia. Yes, so our purpose to visit Colombia is to visit this exporter who work with hundreds of producers. And we got the opportunity to visit some of the farmers.
Wow, I think that's pretty eye-opening just by listening to it, because coming from a tech background, even if we work with people on the other side of the world, it's just like hopping on a call, or as you said, Zoom, WhatsApp, email. But if you're working with coffee, it's actually a tangible product. So you would sometimes have to make these visits to these farms directly.
Yes. I do find these, at least the visit in January, very beneficial. Not just because I get to know the exporter and the producers that we work with. It's also to communicate more clearly what our market is looking for, in order for our producers and exporters to understand why we have certain requirement in our market that they may not be aware of. So that's one. Separately, it is also important for us to understand what is going on at the origin. There are certain reasons why they operate in a certain way. By having that knowledge, we'll be able to advise our clients more accurately.
Understand. And can you share your biggest learning or observation in these farm visits?
First would be the hardship that the producers go through. As much as we know that farming is a difficult job, etc., it never really occurred to me how hard it is until you see it for yourself. And it is heartbreaking. Like, it was painful to watch the challenges that the producers have to go through. The worries, the cost control, the concerns about climate change that they feel so helpless for. So I think these are things that, as coffee roasters or even like business owners on this side of the world, we rarely think about. So that was really painful. And I guess it really changes my mindset about how we source coffee actually.
Do their worries come from the consumer, the end consumer? We are driving the direction of their produce.
Yes, I think to a certain extent, definitely. In terms of the demand, right, for the coffee, what the market trends that we are seeing, say for instance, there has been a growing trend for a geisha variety.
Yeah.
And as a coffee producer, there was this one producer who just stripped out all of her coffees, her coffee plants, and replaced them with geishas. So that there are such impact. That that will directly influence their decision making and their operations.
Yes. So as coffee roaster, coffee shop owner, or even consumers, coffee drinkers, what should we be doing to help improve the situation?
It is on such a macro level that I can't really comment. There was this one instance when I visited a producer in Colombia, where after leaving the place, I spoke with the exporter and asked if there's anything that we can do to help the situation. However, there's only so much that we can do from this side of the world. And by working with an exporter who really cares about their suppliers, the farmers, it's heartwarming to see that something will be done for them.
Okay. Wow.
So I guess the short answer would be to work with the right people who really cares and value what you value, so that you align your interests for the farmers. We also explored a shift in the coffees that were being produced. So certain farms started experimenting with different processing methods, or rather a more experimental processing method, or started exploring different varieties that they feel would fetch a higher price. So that is really intriguing for me, because trends on this side of the world in the consumer end can sometimes be fads that they do not last. But for the farmers, it is for at least the next 5 to 10 years of a sacrifice, because the plant doesn't bear fruit for at least like 3 years. Before you get to harvest and sell the coffee for sure. So it is a huge investment, and by following trends at the origin, it can be super risky for them. So I'm not sure if that is that's sustainable for them.
Speaking of the consumer demand in the region, so Singapore and also Southeast Asia, that you are more familiar with, how do you see the preferences of people changing? And how does that impact the demand for beans in the producer's end?
I guess there are two ways to look at it. From a roaster's landscape point of view, we see a rising trend for micro roasters, or even home roasters. So the demand for coffee in this sense would be more micro, so smaller quantity, and because it is a smaller quantity, there's also a higher demand for quality, and therefore it's a lot of the times more expensive coffees, more premium coffees. So there is a demand for such a band of coffees. So that's from the roasting landscape. For consumers landscape, I do feel that as our consumers are getting more knowledgeable and more open to trying new coffees
Yeah.
and new processing, and they're being more keen to learn about the more innovative processing.
And speaking about the flavored coffees or infused coffees, there's always a lot of discussion around this, especially the processing method of how this is done.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not very familiar with what this kind of coffee is. Can you share with us about infused coffee?
It started coming into the scene maybe about just right before I joined the importer company, and it took off really quickly.
Yeah.
So the gist of it is that it is a coffee that has been infused with other flavors. So it can be a fruit flavor, it can be a herb flavor, and by having that, all you could taste from that coffee would be that infused flavor. So it started out, if I'm not wrong, from Colombia, where you have strawberry infused coffees, you have orange infused coffees. Some of them even have like sage infused coffees, and there has always been a bit of a black box in the information that is related to this processing method, because we're not too sure how it has been infused. The communication has always been that fresh fruits are being co-fermented with the coffee during the processing method, but there is also a lot of skepticism about how it can be achieved with just fresh fruits. And because of that, it has always been a controversial topic.
So it comes down to the traceability, or whether artificial flavorings are added to the fermentation.
Yes, I think certain producers are also adding essential oils to give it the extra flavor. But it is a trend that has been taken up by a lot of other origins, not just Colombia now. So it is interesting to see how the other producers using this concept is pushing it to the next level of processing.
Understand. So we give this side of perspective for owners, roasters, and even consumers, just to know about this sort of information when they choose what coffee to drink.
Yes.
Into the future, now Regina, you're back to Bearded Bella, back to the business.
Yes.
What are the big plans and what's the future for you?
For me, my goal has always been the same. For Bearded Bella, for my customers in Singapore, that is to make specialty coffee accessible and affordable for everyone. Because I do believe that everyone deserves a tasty cup of coffee. And a cup of coffee is something that everyone should be able to have and enjoy on a daily basis. I hate to see coffee enjoyment evolve into an experiential event that you have, like for instance, a visit to a fine dining restaurant. It's something that you go like once every 6 months or so. So that's something that I would hate to see, even though there is a movement towards that, because coffees are getting more expensive. People are not willing to spend as much every day on such expensive coffees. But my goal is still to make it an everyday drink for everyone.
Is there anything you want to say to the industry or to the consumers?
Yes, to support your local coffee roasters, because given the climate, not like weather climate, but the economic climate and the consumer behavior, it is a very challenging landscape for coffee roasters, especially roasters who wish to focus on perfecting their craft
Yeah.
right? It is very challenging for them to sustain the business, and they will need all the support. We will need all your support.
Yeah.
Yes, that we can get from the consumers who love coffee as much as us.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Regina,
Thank
for
you.
coming to the pod today. And before we end, we have a surprise session with you. It's a game that we're gonna play. The game is called Quick Shots.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and you will have to answer within 10 seconds.
No way.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, first one. Favorite coffee beverage?
Oh wow. Definitely a single espresso with water. Yes.
3 words to describe Bearded Bella.
Oh, easy. Adventurous, quirky, and fun.
Best coffee destination?
This is hard. I'll say Brazil.
Brazil?
Yeah.
What is an underrated coffee that everyone should try?
Brazil.
One song to describe your coffee journey.
Ooh, this is tough.
The previous are too easy.
You're beautiful.
You're beautiful. James
Yes.
Blunt.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Regina, for
Thank
coming
you, Isabel.
today.
Appreciate it.
Please come to their new shop, Good Eggs.
Thank you.
And please follow us on Spotify, Grind and Shine Podcast, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Thank you. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.